Hello, Henry Fernandez here, and welcome to the podcast today. As always, I truly appreciate you sharing this platform with me, not only with me, but please, I ask that you share this with others, make your comments, and encourage them to do the same. All right, today I want to deal with a topic that is difficult for others to handle, but it is so necessary for us to do every single day, and that is forgiveness. Yes, you heard me correctly. Forgiveness has to be a way of life for all of us. Now, I understand that so many of you can truly say you've been hurt, you've been mistreated, and you've been done wrong. It's obvious, right? In all areas of your life, from family, siblings, people you dated, people you're married to, co-workers, business partners, people in the church, people of faith, people in the marketplace, your neighbors, you name it. Your banks, the loan officer. There's just so many different things that can cause us to be in need of release and forgiveness. Forgiveness is an act. It is not something you think about. It is something you do. Let me say it again. Forgiveness, listen, is an act. It is not something you think. It is something you do. You have to act out forgiveness. You have to literally make yourself forgive. You have to. And especially if you're a person of faith, it is impossible for you to be saying to yourself that you are of God and you're not willing to forgive. Let's deal with that for a moment. Because a lot of people will say, Lord, I really want to serve you. Lord, I really want to be a good Christian. I really want my life to please you. But then we struggle to forgive people. And yes, I agree that there's some people, they are horrible. There's some people are difficult to deal with. Some of the stuff they said. Some of you right now have been physically abused by people, verbally abused by people, cheated by people, and it hurts. I mean, think about it. Let's be honest. Many of us have people up in our hearts, and it could be justified. It could be justified that the reason for you to have them up in your heart is because they did you wrong. But does that mean that you ought to have unforgiveness in your heart? See, unforgiveness is not good. Unforgiveness is a choice. It is not something you can avoid. It is a choice. You choose not to forgive. And when you choose not to forgive, you're setting yourself up for all the works of darkness to follow. Because when you don't forgive, I'm telling you, the enemy brings in malice. You get to a place where you become bitter. Just check your heart. Some of you, when you see somebody who offended you or done you wrong, you make statements like this. Even if you don't say it, you think it. I can't stand them. I can't stand that person. I hate him. I hate her. Talk to me here, ladies. Hello. Your ex-boyfriend. You can't stand the dude. You can't. You don't even like to hear his name called. You would I don't want to hear his name at all. Your spirit just gets crossed. Think about that. Your ex-husband, your ex-wife, your ex-girlfriend, you can't stand her. Somebody did you wrong. You just can't stand them anymore. It's all about Unforgiveness. Some of you will not stay in the same room with somebody you don't like, somebody who crossed you. Come on, you need to grow up, man. You need to grow up. Grow up and not if you're a believer. So if you're not a believer, you're not supposed to do it. But then I could understand because your mind is not renewed. But when you're a child of God, if God can forgive you, and don't tell me you're that perfect, that you're in no need of forgiveness from God. It's so easy. A lot of times, we throw stones at people because they live in a glass house, only to find out our entire house is glass itself. So be careful how you throw stones at people. If you want to be forgiven, then you need to forgive, because forgiveness is an act. And some of you are praying, oh, Lord, just help me with the spirit of forgiveness. Help me, Lord, because I'm not there yet, Lord. I want to get it. No. Listen, God's not going to help you to get it. You already possess it. You have to choose to want to do it. I can tell you in my own personal life, and then I'm quite sure people may have their own testimonies to the contrary. All of us have offended people. And people have offended us. I'm quite sure I've offended others. And God knows in my heart, it's never my intent to offend anybody. It's never my intent to hurt anybody. And I'll put it out there. If I offended anybody, if I hurt anybody, please forgive me. Please forgive me, because that's not my intention. My intention is never to hurt anybody. But at the same time, there are people who have offended me. And I'm going to tell you something, man. That thing was hard. There are times I found myself there was something balling up in me that was not nice, was not godly. I knew it. I can say, because listen, when you are kind of getting ticked off, when your cup is full. And I was getting to that place of, I don't want to forgive. How can I? But I realized it's a choice. I didn't have to pray for it. I have to choose to say, you know what? I'm going to let it go. And I have to tell you, me letting it go was the best decision I ever made. I had to let it go. I had to choose to say, you know what? I'm not going to allow that thing to bother me. I had to choose to forgive, even forgive people who don't even want to speak to me, people who I don't even know how to get in contact with them anymore. You see, my end is done. I forgive. And I'm saying to you today on this podcast, if you want to be free of stress, forgive. Choose to let things go. Choose to free yourself. Choose to do it. You have to let it go. You have to, and I understand it's painful. And this is when you have forgiven. Follow me here now. It is when you don't remember it, or if you do remember it, it doesn't have a negative effect on you. But if you find yourself getting angry or bitter when you remember certain things, you have not forgiven. You have not forgiven that person. My sister in New York wrote a book, The Sea of Forgiveness. Heather Fernandez. She wrote this book, and the book was released last year. And I want to talk a little bit about this book. I even encourage all of you to get a copy of my sister's book. The information is right there. Sea of Forgiveness. Reasons why not to forgive. Interesting. Reasons why not to forgive. My sisters share in this book. And women, I want all the women who have had bad relationships. Maybe you've, experienced a divorce. This is a book. It's very simple to read. My sister laid her business out, and I don't think it was. And, I read the book and I realized she never bashed anybody. See, when you forgive, you no longer seek revenge. You seek empowerment. Many of you don't realize that God will allow you to go through some situations in life to empower you. You think it was to hurt you, to damage you, but it was to empower you. Recently, I preached a message titled, the blessing is in the lesson. The blessing is in the lesson. That it is in the lessons of life we extract the blessings of life. So my sister extract her blessings. There's so much she learned from her divorce and the things that she had in her heart. Of course, she shared in the book she was at fault at times. Her ex-husband was at fault at times, all kinds of stuff. But both of them are at fault. But how she had to get over her feelings and to forgive. A very interesting read here. But I want to just elaborate just a few points that she made, and hopefully our conversation today will be healthy for you, because I want you to live longer. I want you to enjoy life. I want you to change the outcome of your life, because the reason why you're not happy is because there's too much unforgiveness in you. Too much unforgiveness. Unfortunately, some people turned on a moment ago and they were watching the podcast, but I was hitting certain nerves and they couldn't handle it. So they switched, they changed. And isn't it sad? Because here it is, we refuse to confront what it takes to make us change. To make us change, we have to embrace resistance. The only way you build muscles is you have to create resistance with weights. You have to. And you can't just keep embracing things that only affirms your thinking. You have to be open to correction. You have to be open for somebody in your doggone face telling you the truth. And you just simply say, okay, that's it. I give up. I quit. All right. I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to forgive. She talks about before my vows, and she walked you through how she met her husband and, all the things and the feelings and the emotions and what God was saying to her before her vows. And I want every male and every female who's not married to take note of some of the stuff she said when she said before my vows. I'm telling you, every one of you, if you are not married, there are some things you seriously need to think about before you say, I do. You have to. Don't get so caught up in that relationship where you hug and you kiss and you date, and you just think about the wedding and you just think about how you're going to have children and how you're going to be living happily ever after. Fairy tale. Fairy tale. There's some things you're going to see before the vow, before you say, I do. You got to get to know the person. The person is going to show you their true colors. They're going to see your true colors. Don't ignore certain things that you're seeing. Don't think, and I know you make the mistake, oh, well, over time the person will change. Hello. Come on now. You're going to force yourself in a position where you're going to have to forgive. You're going to create a scenario where you're going to get hurt, and then you have to forgive. And forgiveness is not easy for you. So before you say, I do, you need to check out certain things. You need to make sure that what you're doing, if you're in college right now, you got to make sure that you think about certain things. One of the things I was glad about my sister is that she was in college when she met this boy, this man. I don't mean to say he's a boy, but, they were young kids at the time. And they fell in love and everything. But she said in her book, she saw certain things and everything like that, and she ignored it. Okay? And I'm quite sure he could say the same thing. He saw certain things in her that he ignored. There are warning signs. You can avoid the need for forgiveness sometimes if you just use your brain. Sometimes you look at the guy and you see him. Now, of course, people have their attitudes and so forth. I'm not talking about, people's attitude in the sense where it's a process through their development. I get it. Some women are going to act crazy, do certain things. Some men are going to act crazy, do certain things, but they'll get over that. I'm not talking about that. But I'm talking about when you see in a man where there's just he doesn't respect you. He's not loving you, because a man must study a woman, and find out what turns her on, not sexually now, what turns her on, what makes her open up, what makes her love you, what makes her show her authentic self, what makes her feel at home, what makes her feel comfortable. A man's got to discover that, because if he doesn't, if he ignores that, if he come on now, he can do everything and bring the worst out of a woman. I often tell young couples this: find someone who brings the best out of you. Be careful of these people. All they do is tell you what you're doing wrong. They criticize everything you're doing wrong. You can never do anything right. So they raise the bar, so you attempt to get to that level, then they raise it higher. Be careful, be careful. Those are warning signs. Be careful. You will never please that person. Never please that person. Be careful of individuals like those. So she talked about that, and I just want to, she got pregnant, and the pregnancy, as you know, pregnancy takes you through all kinds of emotional changes. And what a lot of guys don't know is, for us, we can get over certain things. Certain things can happen. We're like, okay, for example, come on, let's just talk real. If you're married, a man can just argue with his wife and say, you know what, I'm so angry at you, man. No, you this, you that. And he can say all kinds of stuff, sometimes bad stuff. And that's like 5 o'clock in that evening. By 10 o'clock bedtime, by 10 o'clock bedtime, he's okay. He lay in the bed. He just put his arms around you and he put his leg around you. Because in his mind, I'm done with that. Okay, fine. Shouldn't have said it or whatever. And, he comes 10 o'clock trying to hug you and so forth. And you know what you ladies do. Come on, lady. Take your foot off me. Get off me. Come on now. Get off me. And the dude is like, what? Because you didn't forget. He did. Come on now. Talk to me here. He did. Even some men, they've apologized. They've said, look, I'm sorry. But some women in their brain, I can't forgive you. They just I have to punish you. Be careful. So many women are trying to play tough. I'm going to punish you. I'm going to make you. I'm going to make you. And what you don't understand, instead of building the man, you're breaking him down. And you're actually doing the reverse of what you want. Please listen to me. You're actually doing the reverse. I'm not telling you he shouldn't do better. But if the guy genuinely, apologize and so forth, then you've got to find a way to say, okay, how can I just let it go, forgive? See, come on now. If you're going to say, no, certain things I can't let go, blah, blah, blah. And it goes for men too. I can't let go of this one. Then forgiveness is impossible. Forgiveness is impossible when you tend to hold on to the wrong. Please hear me. Forgiveness is impossible when you tend to hold on to the wrong. So before you say I do, a lot of you ladies, you need to hear me. Brothers, the same. Before you say I do, you need to make sure that you take time to examine the person's personality, what turns them on or off. And you have to tell yourself, no matter what that person does, am I willing to forgive? And listen, here's the big mistake. if you're not a forgiven person, if it takes you long to unwind, because some of you, I'm telling you, you do it at your own pace. And I'm telling you, you're suffocating your relationship. You're taking the oxygen out of your relationship because you're stubborn. You got to have it your way. Like Frank Sinatra, I do it my way. I did it my way. No, you have to learn, forgiveness is, how many times should you forgive each day? Think about that. Another thing she talked about was turn for the worst. A turn for the worst. This is a big one. Glory to God. Sometimes I think we bring ourselves to a place of unforgiveness because we don't read signs. What do I mean by that? I can't tell you how many times this has happened to me. I'm in the car. I have a desired destination and I'm driving. Instead of me reading the signs, I didn't. Ended up at places, wasted time, all because I ignore signs along the way. So many of you are ignoring signs along the way of life, and things are getting worse. My sister, things were turning for the worst, and it built up, and it created more animosity and anger and bitterness, and it made matters worse. And I'm saying to you, sometimes you can take yourself to a place of unforgiveness because you're not reading the signs. You're not seeing that, wait a minute, things are not getting better. Maybe you just need to have a conversation with the person, being open and frank. Do you know how many marriages could have been saved if the two parties, because sometimes one person sincerely wanted to work and will do everything. But if you have an impossible person, I don't know. People say pray. Okay, prayer changes things, and if the person is not changing, what do you do? Think about that. Because so many people have messed up their lives hoping with this fairy tale thing that things are going to change when God is saying it's getting worse. It's getting worse. And especially if you're not married, it's getting worse. Why would you subject yourself to that? Why would you go all the way with that person when they're showing you that they're difficult to deal with, they're self-centered and everything, and they're not willing to change, and all they think about is them and their feelings? Think about that. She did not pay attention to things turning for the worst. And it got her to an uncomfortable place. I know my sister. It got her to a place where she was bitter, angry. She expressed that in the book. One day I was driving from Atlanta. Many of you have heard this story before. I was driving from Atlanta back to South Florida. I've done it multiple times, so I know the route. But anyway, I was driving. I was by myself, and I was driving, and I had my music up, and I'm just having a wonderful time. And I'm driving, but I had the navigation system, and usually, even though I know the way, I always put on the navigation system because sometimes there's detour traffic and I can work around that. So I had on the navigation system. So on my way back at a certain point in Atlanta, just before I got to the downtown area, an 85, I just decided, I don't really need it, man, because thank you. The voice of the lady, in the navigation system was just too annoying. Every minute, turn this, turn right, in 200 feet, da-da-da-da. And I'm listening to my music, and it interrupts the music every time. I shut that woman off. I said, no, I don't want it. I canceled the navigation system, the route. And here I was going, and listen to me. I was going, listening to the music, having fun, and ignoring all the signs. So if you've ever done that route, you're heading south, you have 85 that split goes through to the airport, and you have 75 that goes to the left, and that takes you all the way down. Well, I'm watching and I'm driving, and for some reason, I know in my mind at the split, something said to me, okay, figure your thoughts out. Where you going? And I just think, oh, because when I'm flying, I always go to 85. So I'm saying, okay, 85. So I turned on 85. So as I drove past the airport, I'm like, okay, fine, I see the airport. Because on 75, you see the airport. I'm driving. And I started finding myself about half hour. I'm seeing things that I don't normally see. I'm like, okay. Seriously, I'm seeing names and signs, road signs, and I'm like, okay. But I said, I'm heading south. Listen to me. I'm heading south. I know I'm doing fine, so it's okay. And then about an hour, I'm like, okay. And I'm reading the signs, and the signs were saying things to me that I didn't understand. It was just for me to figure it out. Ladies and gentlemen, I found myself at the end of the day, hours after, in Montgomery, Alabama. Yes, when I saw the sign, Montgomery, Alabama, I almost fell out. I had to stop, gas up, and it took me 4 hours to get back to the turnpike in Jacksonville, or I think it's a turnpike, or 70. Yes, a turnpike in Jacksonville. It took me, because I had to come now all the way from west to east. I lost. Let me tell you something. I was so angry. Here's the point. In life, sometimes, I'm telling you, we fail to look at the signs that God's warning us. Say, hey, you better watch it. I could not forgive myself that day because, like, stupid. Do you not know that there are some bad decisions you're going to make in life that you can't take it back? And you're going to have to take time to repair it. It took me 4 hours to correct it. And I'm saying, some of you, there are signals you see in life, road signs along your life's journey that's telling you, no, you're making the wrong turn. And if you don't pay attention to it, like my sister, you're going to end up in places you have no business. I hope you're getting something from this. So, if you've, just joined me, man, my sister wrote this book, Sea of Forgiveness, Reasons Why Not to Forgive, Heather Fernandez. I encourage you to grab a hold of this book. Grab a hold of this book. One day I'm going to interview her and let her share her story. Okay, so I talked about before my vows, and she said, turn for the worst. Things just, begin to turn for the worst. And then, she talked about it takes two. And I'll stop there. It takes two. She said, it takes two. It takes two to tangle. It takes two. You see, listen, and perhaps this podcast is really directed to people in relationships. It takes two to make it work. One person cannot make a relationship successful. That's not a relationship. Without forgiveness, a relationship stands no chance of surviving. None. If you're going to constantly remind the other person of the faults and the things that they've done and what they need to do, if everything has to be your way or the highway, then I'm telling you, sir, you're going to end up places you're going to regret. I'm telling you, ma'am, you're going to end up places you're going to regret. Maybe somebody's offended you, whatever it is. You can't keep that thing up in your heart. You have to learn to forgive. Reasons why not to forgive, all of us have those reasons. You did me wrong. You offended me. I'm hurt. You did this. Of course, and we're good at that. We're good at telling people why you hurt me, why I shouldn't forgive you. But we have very limited information of how we can forgive. So my encouragement to you, get my sister's book. Get the book. You can hardly see it. Just get it. The light is shining on it. Just get the book. Get the book. It's right there. See, there it is. Sea of Forgiveness. Reasons Why Not to Forgive, Heather Fernandez. I need you to go get it. It will bless you. Share it with somebody. Give it to a gift as a gift to someone who you know is struggling with unforgiveness, struggling with that, can't forgive. I know in this season of your life, you can't afford to be putting all that stress on you not to forgive. Start forgiving people. All right. I'll see you next time on the next podcast. Please remember, write your comments down.